Hi everybody, it's week 6. That means we have almost completed this course together. This week I'm going to provide a very brief, I know I say that with every video, but this one really is going to be brief, overview of a model of looking at organizations and administrations. This model of organizational functioning is conceptualized by author Robert Birnbaum in the book How Colleges Work as actually being 4 separate models of organizational functioning. And in the book, Birnbaum proposes 4 different institutional types or modes of organizational functioning. And those are collegial, bureaucratic, political, and anarchical institutions. Within the collegial institution, hierarchy is not important. The organizational structure is very flat, meaning that there are very few steps from entry level, professional, or clerical staff to the ultimate figurehead of the institution or ultimate decision maker. Um, the institution or the organization can be seen as being highly informal. You're not going to hear people referred to by their titles or their degrees. So, for example, if it's an institution where you have a president who has an earned doctorate, nobody in the institution is going to refer to her or him as doctor. It's going to be a very informal setting. Um, it might be a place where you don't really see people wearing uh, ties or their Sunday best unless there's company coming. Decision making in this type of place can be very lengthy because the ultimate goal is going to be consensus. And the goal of consensus is to maintain that collegial feel. And there's definitely going to be an organization chart, and that chart is going to be used to reinforce the flatness of the structure, that everybody is empowered to make a contribution to that organization. The next type that Birnbaum outlines is the bureaucratic institution, and it's the opposite of the collegial institution. There is a lot of hierarchy, and things are handled in a top-down manner. Decision making can be very quick in this because it's a buck stops here type of approach, where the person that's at the top of the org chart is the person who has the authority and the power to make those decisions. Communication is very formal. If it is not written down and not on letterhead or some official communique, then it does not exist. It is not honored. And so the notion of in the collegial institution would be business gets done by handshake and over coffee or tea. In the bureaucratic institution, the handshake is a nice gesture, but unless there's something official to go along with it, then the handshake was an empty gesture. And in the bureaucratic institution, the organizational chart is the gospel. It's used to reinforce the pecking order of the institution and to reinforce that you better not step out of line. So, for example, when I worked at the University of Alabama, there are a couple of times when I stepped out of the org chart and went straight to the top with our vice president and once with the president of the institution, and got a reminder that there is an order to things from my supervisor. I think there's more about him than the actual bureaucratic nature of the institution, but that's just one example. The third type that Birnbaum outlined is the political institution. And with political institutions, they can be tricky because they can look on paper like legal institutions, they can look on paper like bureaucratic institutions, but what's going on in the political is not on paper. It's all about power plays, and the power is very diffuse. Those in power who have the power may not be those people with those presumed power positions. And in fact, power can shift to different individuals in different groups at different times and also over different elements. You'll see a lot of posturing in political institutions and political organizations. And what I mean by posturing is almost trash talking in some ways. Think about in collegiate and professional sports where we see head coaches get up and either try to psych out their opponent or simply get up on the podium at their press conference and really dog out the opponent. That's all posturing. Um, we'll see organizational members do similar things, such as step up in a meeting and really situate their own department as being the responsible party for a campus event or campus initiative. Decision making is really slow in political institutions, more so than collegial institutions, because it's all about negotiation. It's not an issue of consensus. It's about feeling out the political waters, trying to make broker moves. Posturing is part of the decision making process, and so it really slows things down. And again, there is an org chart. It's loosely followed, and it's more of a formality. And then the fourth institutional type or organizational type that Birnbaum outlines is the anarchical institution. And the hallmarks of an anarchical institution are when there are problematic goals, meaning it's really unclear what we're working toward. Now, what sense does this make? Of course, we're in institutions of higher learning. Of course, we're all working toward one goal. Well, not necessarily. Are we working towards building prestige for our institution? Are we working towards addressing graduation rate shortfalls? Are we working on uh, increasing the connections with our surrounding community? When it's unclear what the goals are that are being worked toward, that could be a sign of an anarchical institution. The anarchical institution is going to have an org chart in place, but it's probably not been updated in a long time. It's probably going to have names on the org chart of people who have retired or left the institution. Um, and you'll see individuals move in and out of positions or not necessarily formal positions, but kind of like in the political institutions and organizations where people step into certain positions to make things happen. Um, this is going to be very fluid in the anarchical institution. And there's going to be unclear technology. And when Birnbaum talks about technology, he's not talking about cell phones and computers and software. He's talking about the process through which an input becomes an output. In other words, how is it that we do what we do? Um, when we can't answer that question clearly, that's another signal, another hallmark of an anarchical institution. So I put it to you, and this is going to be our discussion prompt for this week. So of these four types, which do you think applies, based on the generalizations that we've discussed and read about this semester, to community colleges?